Plainview is one of our only concern women for America. Just a couple of weeks ago, on July 2nd, the Library of Congress announced a very enlightening discovery in the Declaration of Independence. Thomas Jefferson wrote it out in longhand. And when he made changes, he would cross out the words and then add the new phrase. And so over the years, there have been attempts, and using better technology, to look at what were the words or phrases that he crossed out so that we can understand the thinking process. And there's one phrase that was in the version of the Declaration of Independence is "our fellow citizens." Now, there had been something previously that Thomas Jefferson had written that he crossed out. In fact, he crossed it out so completely, so vigorously, that it literally has taken all these years and the best technology to figure it out. And what the word was originally was "our fellow subjects." Think of the difference between the two. A subject is someone which the government controls their lives. And in fact, a subject exists to serve the government, as opposed to a citizen that is free and determines what the government will be. Action regarding women and men, that means they literally have control or charge over every aspect of life. And the treaty itself even outlines that. The treaty is quite expansive. It describes discrimination as any distinction, exclusion, or restriction on the basis of sex in any field. That is all-encompassing. Now, whereas the Equal Rights Amendment, bad enough as it is, but it was restricted the government from making any distinctions between men and women. CEDAW goes farther than that. It states that countries must modify the social and cultural patterns of conduct of men and women. Social and cultural. There's no aspect of life that is outside the realm of this treaty. It even requires that countries modify their textbooks and their teaching methods to comply with the treaty. It states that single-sex schools are prohibited because their perspective on gender is not acceptable. Taxpayers would be forced to change their school books to gender-neutralize them, so that, for example, women are not shown as mothers and wives, because that's a stereotype that needs to be abolished under CEDAW. The treaty also requires that there be access to healthcare services, including those related to family planning. Problem with that is there are many people who would define family planning as including abortion. And right now that includes the current administration, the Obama administration. And it also does not allow for any reservations, or what we might call in our system amendments to the treaty that would conflict with the treaty itself. Who decides if a reservation conflicts with the treaty? A committee of the UN that is set up by this treaty. The treaty, in order to implement or enforce the treaty, it sets up a committee of 23 gender experts. And these experts oversee the countries that ratify the treaty. If a country ratifies the treaty, then they obligate themselves to come before this committee every 4 years and give a report on what the country has done to implement the treaty. And then the committee members tell the country what more it must do. Okay, just on the face of the treaty itself, it completely contradicts our Constitution and our constitutional system of government. The sweeping language of CEDAW covers nations' laws, culture, political systems, schooling, family life, personal relationships, professional choices. It doesn't allow for our federalist system. Under our system, family law falls under the state law. Under the CEDAW, it would be required that the national government be in control of family law. And under the treaty, it doesn't allow for such basic inalienable rights like freedom of association and freedom of religion. Now, in the United States, we already have clear protections for women, legal protection for women. Now, radical feminists claim that the word woman is not in the Constitution. Well, that's not how it's been understood, and in fact, if that were the case, then the 14th Amendment would not include women. The Supreme Court has already declared that the term person in the 14th Amendment has never been limited to men, and it fully protects women against denials of equal protection. If we were to adopt the feminist understanding, then Roe versus Wade would fall, because Roe versus Wade is based on the 14th Amendment. If the 14th Amendment doesn't include women, then Roe can't stand. I don't think you'll find any radical feminists who would agree that Roe versus Wade is not founded in the 14th Amendment. We would disagree. But if they were to claim that women are not in the Constitution, then they would also have to admit there's no right to abortion in the Constitution. Our federal statutes recognize and give legal protection to women. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 protects women against discrimination. Women are fully protected in the United States. We have federal laws, state laws, commissions, a culture of shame. The largest private employer in the United States, Walmart, just recently is facing a massive lawsuit regarding discrimination. A powerful private entity is being held accountable. Even the most powerful person in the United States is accountable for any discrimination against women, as was seen when the President of the United States in the 1990s was held accountable for accusations of sexual harassment. One of the major problems with CEDAW is it would actually limit women's freedom. Women in the United States are free to negotiate our roles as wives, mothers, caregivers. We are free to choose the professions that we would like in our personal and our professional lives, in our political lives. This is the year of the conservative woman. Look at the number of conservative women who are running for office and are winning their primaries. We are free to do that. However, if the United States were to ratify this treaty, then we would subject ourselves to this committee that has interpreted the treaty. And this committee has limited the rights of women to make choices. Laws in Colombia based partly upon opinions from this committee. If we want to continue to be free, to be citizens, then we cannot subject ourselves to UN treaties that intrude into every aspect of our lives. We need to continue to fight for our ability to be citizens, not subjects to an international community, to foreign experts to decide what our laws and our culture ought to be. And so we would encourage you to fight against any UN treaty, like the Convention on the Rights of the Child and like CEDAW, that would strip away our rights as citizens and make us subject to an international body at the UN. Thank you.